I would like to call Down to Cedar Lake Plan Commission, January 4, 2023, special public meeting and work session to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I'd like to wish everybody a Happy New Year.
Happy New Year,
all. Thank you. First order of business here on the special meeting is nomination and appointment of officers. We need a nomination for president.
I nominate John Ford. I'll second.
We have to do roll call first, though, sir.
Oh,
Who made the motion in second? But we have to do roll call.
We're starting over.
He's got the cart in front of the horse.
I wish I had to get nominated.
I didn't catch that.
Roll call, please.
Okay. Mr. Carnahan.
Here.
Mr. Foreman.
Present.
Mr. Becker. Ms. Stensauer.
Present.
Mr. Sharp.
Here.
Mr. Parker.
Here.
Mr. Kapora.
Present.
Mr. Oliphant.
Here.
Mr. Austin.
Present.
Mr. Slattery.
Present.
Ms. Abernathy.
Present.
And Ms. Hyduk is present.
Okay, now we'll take nominations for president.
I nominate John Kapora. Once again, I'll second that.
Yeah. Any other nominations? Okay.
So that was made by Richard Sharp?
Yes. Sharp, seconded by Mr. Parker.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Carnahan.
Yes.
Mr. Foreman.
Yes.
Mr. Sharp.
Yes.
Ms. Stensauer.
Yes.
Mr. Becker. Mr. Parker.
Yes.
Mr. Kapora.
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Vice President.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Now I need nomination for Vice President.
I'll nominate Mr. Parker.
I'll second.
Motion made by Heather for Mr. Parker, seconded by
Rick?
Mr. Sharp. Any other nominations? Nomination closed. Roll call, please.
Mr. Carnahan.
Yes.
Mr. Foreman.
Yes.
Mr. Sharp.
Yes.
Ms. Stensauer.
Yes.
Mr. Parker.
Yes.
Mr. Kapora.
Yes. Motion carries 6-0. Secretary, is that you?
Yes.
Need a nomination for secretary. Present secretary is Mr. Sharp.
I'll nominate Richard Sharp for secretary.
I'll second that.
Motion made by John Foreman for Mr. Sharp, seconded by Heather. Any other nominations? If not, roll call, please.
Mr. Carnahan.
Yes.
Mr. Foreman.
Yes.
Mr. Sharp.
Yes.
Ms. Stensauer.
Yes.
Mr. Parker.
Yes.
Mr. Kapora.
Yes. Motion carries 6-0. Please note that Mr. Becker is in attendance now. Number 2, appointments, Board of Zoning Appeals. We need one appointment from the Plan Commission.
I make a motion to appoint Mr. John Kapora.
I'll second that.
Motion made to appoint myself, no, I didn't make that. Appoint John Kapora by Mr. Foreman and seconded by Ms. Stensauer. Any other nominations? If not, roll call, please.
Mr. Carnahan.
Yes.
Mr. Foreman.
Yes.
Mr. Sharp.
Yes.
Ms. Stensauer.
Yes.
Mr. Becker.
Yes.
Mr. Parker.
Yes.
Mr. Kapora.
Yes. Motion carries 7-0. And we have a nomination for on-site building department.
I nominate Heather Dessauer.
I'll second that.
Motion for Heather Dessauer, made by Rick Sharp and seconded by Mr. Foreman. Any other nominations? If not, roll call, please.
Mr. Carnahan.
Yes.
Mr. Foreman.
Yes.
Mr. Sharp.
Yes.
Ms. Stensauer.
Yes.
Mr. Becker.
Yes.
Mr. Parker.
Yes.
Mr. Capora?
Yes, motion carries, 7-0. Congratulations, Heather.
Thank you.
My house is safe, hopefully we'll pass.
What's your address again?
Easy to get to.
Eat.
Easy to get to.
All right, now, can we, do I close out the special meeting? Do I close out the special meeting?
You do. Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, special meeting, is adjourned. And then do we move right into,
Move right into it.
Work session.
because we called it when I started, right?
Correct.
All right. All right, now we're gonna move into, the work session. Old business, number 1, Harvest Creek, formerly Silver Meadows, preliminary plat for a 98 lot subdivision rezone. Owner petitioner Diamond Peak Group LLC, 1313 White Hawk Drive, Crown Point. Vicinity of 9210 West 155th Avenue, Cedar Lake. Petitioner is requesting preliminary plat for 98 lot subdivision and a rezone from agricultural to PUD. Hi.
Good evening. My name is Michael Herbers with Diamond Peak Group at 130 White Hawk Drive. A couple quick updates on our end here at the study session. Our attorney did submit additional documentation for the PUD guidelines to Attorney Austin this afternoon. So those will be reviewed by him and commented, and we'll make the necessary changes as needed regarding that. There was some back and forth at the last study session. We're still working through. We added some renderings just to show some visuals of what the homes we anticipate building in this development, just to kind of clear up some of the questions, comments, and concerns regarding that. I do know Jack with DVG is here this evening as well. He's been going through review comments from Mr. Oliphant. I think Jack will touch base on it, but I believe we're through the 3rd round of review comments. Again, if Jack, you want to come up and kind of touch base on some of the comments and concerns from the engineering side.
Yeah, so we've gone through a number of reviews, largely related to off-site storm sewer and kind of how that works with storm sewer and detention, and then getting it through the site. I think we've got most of those things to a place where Don will be able to review them. He did just get that package earlier this morning. Anticipate that from our end, we hope he'll be able to say that in 2 weeks we'll be ready to go. There's been a lot of conversations with the town regarding sanitary sewer and water well locations, and I think all of those issues have been resolved. Things with the park, so we're really in a good spot from an engineering site perspective, pending final review from Don on the engineering plans.
There were quite a few items on this letter of yours. Are all these going to be addressed?
They are all addressed and back in his spot. Don is very thorough.
We will do our
but a lot of those things are just kind of like typographical errors, so it needs to be cleaned up, and it is, but it's nothing that's going to substantially change a land plan or make a significant revision to the PUD, but it does need to be addressed for your approval.
Sure. You're saying Don has fat fingers and he can't type?
No, I'm saying we have fat fingers and he's a great catcher.
He is the great catcher.
The PUD document is in the attorney's hands right now,
It is, yes, sir.
and hopefully that'll be all in place so that when you come back, we don't have a lot of red lines in it.
Exactly. Yep, that's the plan.
Do we need that PUD for next meeting or no?
Well, you will.
We will.
I can tell you that I got dropped off yesterday at 2:20, and today at another time midday, 2 sets of these packages. I didn't even start. This is it, in part, and I was told by my staff that it's 3,000 sheets of paper. I'm just saying, I didn't look, I didn't verify it, I'm not going to.
By Friday then, or?
Yeah, Friday. And Nathan wants to be first, so.
Okay, anybody else got any comments?
Yeah, I got something about the park dedication. It only shows what, .55 acres, 2.5. Is that right?
Correct, yes, and we did sit down with the park board, we discussed our plan with the park on the equipment we'll be putting in there, discussed about the layout. Their main concern was, potential parking, so we discussed doing some on-street parking right along that bend there to allow for residents to, park safely by the park, and let their kids in and out safely. So yeah, and I believe Crystallize was there as well, so you might be able to touch base on it, but they were, accepting of the park layout and discussions
So the
there.
park board was included on this.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yep.
But it is in the park acreage, a little short?
Not short.
Believe they do plan on, as you said, putting in equipment, in lieu of, so sort of like a money in lieu of park land. They're gonna put in equipment.
Especially with us having the ultimate plan, park, you know, where we're dewatering facility is going to be, that gets all turned out in the future and it's going to be parks.
What's the closest park to that now?
Lynn's Way?
Yeah, catty corner from this subdivision.
They don't have park equipment, do they?
We did put some stuff in.
Yeah,
Just put,
Initially, it had 0.
And they have
Okay.
some in there too.
But the equation, what is that, they
Yeah.
keep changing the equations.
I mean, the acreage equation is the easy equation, it's 2.5 acres and change.
But instead of you
Required.
providing 2.5 acres of green space, you're providing a half of acre, but a whole bunch of equipment.
Correct.
Got it.
Yep, looks good to me.
And the dewatering facility will become like a sports complex.
That's the plan. That's the plan.
But we're still short in green space.
That's the quid pro quo for the PUD.
For the equipment, yeah.
That'll
And the
be-
park
Otherwise, we would have to buy the equipment.
That'll be in the PUD agreement.
it also helps reduce the amount of maintenance and mowing that we're doing in our parks. So getting more amenities for our citizens and reducing the amount of time that our staff will be spent on mowers.
Aren't we asking the PUDs now to, deed the park land over to us and they maintain it?
That's what I was gonna say.
That has been something that we did with Beacon Point, Unit 6, 7, and 8. I know they're working on that right now.
There are, as you could be aware, possibilities in the future of the HOA going defunct, in which case the town would be probably required to provide maintenance at that period. So yes, although we are requiring that now, there's no guarantee that in perpetuity that will remain the case.
Are you able to bring us the park plan next time?
Yeah,
Can you see that?
yeah, yep.
Thank you.
So what you're saying is that there's a possibility on some of these that the HOA will go defunct and then we'll have to take care of the maintenance.
That's a possibility with any HOA.
Right, so what you're saying now then is that we might as well just start taking care of the maintenance now.
No.
No. So we're gonna do the PUD with ceding the property to us, to the town, and the HOA maintaining the park.
And I think the reason for deeding the property to us is years ago, there was a subdivision where the folks never got the POA off the ground, and then the neighbor next door bought it on tax sale,
Just not fair.
so.
No, I agree with that, I just wanna make sure that everybody's.
Is there any way you can put somewhere on the lien, or not on the lien, but on the land, that if we have to take care of it, you know, if they go defunct?
The maintenance terms, Chuck, should be in the PUD agreement. There should be some discussion about that, if that's part of the plan and part of the development intention.
But if, let's say, they go out, you know, are they gonna, somehow we can, recoup our money if we have to take care of it?
Yeah, I doubt it.
So there's been a
It'd
provision,
be a long, great chase.
there's been a provision we've been including on plats over the last 2 years probably, that kind of reference that, it essentially says, you know, if it becomes non-operational, insolvent, or similarly situated, that the responsibility for the ownership, maintenance, and payment of any real estate taxes and assessments levied upon or related to the outlaws shall be equal responsibility of each individual property owner within the subdivision, jointly and severally. Gives us some teeth.
Yeah.
That's another chase.
Huh?
That's another great chase.
I like it.
It's good for young attorneys though, right?
It is good for the
Something to
attorneys.
teach them on?
John, it's good for the attorneys. Just saying. Thanks, Greg.
I try to find a positive. Thanks, Greg.
Dave needs something to do.
He's not gonna do that. He said young attorneys.
I am young.
Okay, we have any other discussion?
No,
Nothing? Okay, see you in a couple weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
New business, Hen Family, second edition, final plat for two-lot subdivision, owner Richard Hen, 9303 West 133rd Avenue, Cedar Lake. Petitioner Nathan D. Vislaw, 12634 Wicker Avenue, Cedar Lake. Vicinity of 9303 West 133rd Avenue, Cedar Lake. Petitioner is requesting the final plat for a two-lot subdivision.
Thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate it. Evening Plan Commission. We're here for, I believe, the final public hearing.
Just final plat.
Just final plat. We did submit the Mylars. Those were submitted before Christmas, so we are just waiting your final approval and blessing this evening so that we can get those recorded.
Well,
In
they'll.
2 weeks.
in
2 weeks.
Nice work session.
2 weeks. I tried to push it. There's been no changes. Nothing at all.
Okay, anybody got any discussion?
No, sir.
No, sir.
I think we went over everything pretty much in the past,
Yeah.
and, it's all pretty much cut and dry.
Yep.
Even the driveway's cut and dry.
Driveway's cut. Worked well at the church to move some items out of the way for them, and they're back there chopping down some logs. No homeless folks have been found. Everyone's happy.
Good, okay. Good.
Water extensions, that can be a problem? Water runoff?
No, shouldn't be. We'll have to look at stuff during site plan review for the actual building permit, but we'll get into that when it's submitted.
There were some concerns, Chuck, that were raised preliminarily, and I think there's already been some conversation went down already about the back right corner, about dropping that into a swale towards the back, away from the existing homeowners back there, so.
Yeah, once we get the building permit check, we'll look into that more.
All right. I think you mentioned that at the last meeting.
Yeah.
Brought that back.
Yeah, there was a gentleman here with concerns, and I believe we addressed those.
Right. Okay, if there's no more discussion, we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Done,
You got
done.
something
I got something else, a number two right next to it.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Well, before we move on to number 2, Don does have a November 29, 2022 letter in regards to the final plat that was included in your packet. So he's already reviewed the final plat.
Yeah.
We don't have it.
That's all.
All right, so then we're going on to new business now.
Oh, that was actually,
That was the beginning of.
that was the beginning of the,
This is number 2.
Can you guys reelected me?
You can,
Just for this reason.
it's my fault, I changed the format a little bit. I'm throwing you off.
New business, Hens Family Second Edition, final plat for a two-lot subdivision. Owner Richard Hen, 9303 West 133rd Avenue, Cedar Lake. Petitioner Nathan D. Vislaw, 12634 Wicker Avenue, Cedar Lake. Vicinity 9303 West 133rd Avenue, Cedar Lake. Petitioner is requesting the final plat for a two-lot subdivision.
that was
the one.
the Hen Family second edition. You gotta turn the page.
There you go.
Well, under old?
Number 2.
Never mind.
Yours isn't stapled, that's the problem. You must have printed it at home.
No, I took the staples out because I don't want to waste metal.
I like it.
Okay. That's another reason we elected you.
Rail
You don't wanna waste them, you reuse them? Like, what, you took it off and then what?
No,
You
I throw
recycle.
The vacuum will get it. Okay. All right, we're done with the hen edition, we're going to the rail side now.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Number 2, rail side rezone and preliminary plat. Owner Hen Holdings LLC, 10702 West 141st Avenue, Cedar Lake. Petitioner Vislaw, P.O. Box 980, Cedar Lake. Vicinity of 10702 West 11th Street, 11th Avenue, Cedar Lake.
As a typo, it's 141st. My apologies.
41st.
141st, yep, I missed the 4.
Thank you.
Okay. Petitioner is requesting a rezone to agricultural to a planned unit development, PUD, and a preliminary plat for 29 lot subdivision.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you may recall, at the last meeting, we shared an extensive PUD. In addition, there was some point in late December that I believe we received an extensive review from Don as to engineering. I'm told from Jack that that has been responded to as of today. So extensive comments. There's been good dialogue back and forth with the engineers on the engineering on that particular project. In addition, special thanks to the town. We've worked well with the county. There was 19 outstanding demolition permits that there was a question of who had the authority to close them out. We were able to work with the town officials to get that handled, and that's been closed out as well. Continuing to work with Mr. Austin on that PUD. I know we've got a meeting date set again here with his office to continue working through that, and no substantial changes since the last time that we've met. Unless the commission has thought of anything since the last time we were in front of you.
Everybody got anything?
I do not.
Everything going okay with that, Dave?
Yeah, everything's fine. This particular project finds itself in the path of some utility development that Nathan and I are gonna review. There's some circumstances that need to be addressed regarding extensions, payments, responsibilities, partnership things.
Yep.
Statutorily that have changed over the past 9 months, which you are aware of from the Baltimore project. So those things will be going on. You know, we're meeting, can't guarantee what the results will be until we get into it. And some of the data that we will need, Nathan, will be cost estimates.
Okay. We can work with that.
You probably ought to bring Jack with,
We can do that.
and keep an eye on him that way.
Better keep under tabs.
Just saying.
So we should be all set in 2 weeks?
Probably not in 2 weeks. I'm anticipating that this is gonna be for the February public meeting is the current plan. That's the goal right now. Yep.
Okay.
That's what we'll work towards.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Target.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're not gonna be here in 2 weeks for the public hearing, correct?
Right.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
We're gonna have to go to the plan, all the meetings, there's something to build
Number 3, Wicker Enterprise, LLC, site plan. Owner Gerald L. DeYoung, trustee, 1318 Valley Bunyan Court, Dyer. Petitioner, Wicker Enterprise LLC, 13321 Wicker Avenue, Cedar Lake. Vicinity, US 41, 135th Place, Cedar Lake. Petitioner is requesting a site plan for a new law office.
What?
Thanks, Jack.
Not another lawyer.
These 2 lawyers are
Already
already
here.
reside in, Cedar Lake. They're
I know.
So Jamie and Jennifer are also here, they're Wicker Enterprises. Jack Halls from DBG representing the petitioner this evening. It's a work study. We've got a set of plans that have been presented to you, as well as Ted Roan is here. He's the architect on the project, and you also have some renderings of the proposed building. So we entertain your comments on all of that. We were here a couple months ago, and we presented a site plan, we got some feedback from you. One of the feedback was that you were concerned about having 2 entrances off of 135th, and so we made some revisions to the site plan, so there's only one. We did want to have separate parking, so that's why you see
kind of that configuration of the parking as you come towards the building, north towards the building. There's also a lot of grade change on this project, from north to south. It drops about 8 feet. So that presents us with some interesting challenges as it relates to ADA accessibility in the building, but the parking lot goes up the hill, and the ADA is up at the north side entrance there, so that seems to work out pretty well. You also notice there's a secondary ADA access around the north side of the building to the back entrance. That tells me that's required, so we have to make accommodations for that. You'll recall about 9 or 10 months ago, the petitioner was here, presented a very preliminary sketch plan, and then we subsequently filed for a BZA application, and we were granted variances to parking in the setbacks along 41 and also 135th. I know that was one of the comments that Don had made, that would be required. That actually has already been done. And also we did reduce the side yard setback or the rear yard setback along the east line. We didn't utilize that as far as the site plan is concerned, but it was there and we needed to. Part of that was related to the deck that is off the back side of the building. So we have a perimeter fence around the back side of the building, 6 foot tall, which provides us with this required screening. To the north is commercial, so we don't really need to have, or not required to have screening there, but we are providing it because that use there is residential, even though it's zoned commercial. The property to the east is zoned residential and is residential, so we are required to provide the screening there. And you'll notice on both sides we have the fence, and then we have landscape arborvitae screening to provide additional sight lines. We've accommodated for your lighting ordinance. Well, it's very specific about light spill on adjacent properties. There was one review comment, so we'll have to take a look at that. But this site was very challenging as it relates to your ordinance to make work from a site lighting perspective. I'll let you know that, just because of the size of the lot was quite small. We do have some pretty tight parameters for zero light spill at the property lines, but yet pretty high requirements for uniform lighting on the parking lots. And so there's probably a lot more light fixtures on this site than we would prefer to have, and in my brain is very symmetrical, and these light poles are not symmetrical at all. It drives me crazy, but we have to meet the ordinance, so that's what we got to do. That's really about it on this project. I'd like to have Ted come up and talk a little bit about the architecture. I think there's some key things that I think you guys would be interested in. So.
Good evening, Ted Roan, Rome Associates Architects. The design of this is fairly simple. It's attorney's offices. It's comprised, I think you have a floor plan probably included in your packet, but it's got a main entry with a greeting area, vestibule, waiting area, restroom, and then mainly offices and conference rooms. It has a lower level due to the sloped grade. It's in residential terms, it would be considered like a daylight, so there'll be windows in the lower level. Their plans are to have that unfinished at this time, but maybe in a future time they'll finish it. We designed the building to be a professional office look, but knowing that it's near residential on both the north and the east, we gave it a more residential feel. So it has a shingle roof with aluminum gutters, and we've got stone on the front with some siding and trim, and we felt like it meets both the needs of our client and also fits in with the character of the area that is being built. As Jack mentioned, both entrances are ADA accessible. It's only one exit is really required by code. But once you do, the owner does want 2 exits, so they have a back way out, which is good practice, but once you do 2 exits, you've got to make 60% of them ADA accessible, so. I think it's fairly straightforward architecture and this design, and we will be moving forward, if it looks like this is going to go our way, to completing construction drawings and submitting for the state release.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I do too. Yeah, this is the building that you submitted, the picture? That rendition? That's.
Yes, exactly,
Yeah.
and,
That's kind
I just have to give some kudos to Ted on how he sided the building and made it look like it's actually there, and,
Yeah, just
made
a
the
nice
parking lot and all the
visualization.
landscaping look like it was in my head, so, you know, it was a good job on that, so.
Well, this is very symmetrical. This is very symmetrical.
The building is symmetrical, the lighting.
The light poles are going to be used to it.
Can't all be winners.
Definitely a big step up from what was originally on concept presented.
Right.
No, I don't know, do you think? I really like that original, it was in much detail.
Everything was there.
It was
I
fun.
liked it. I did. There were
That
multiple
was-
colors on there. There's like a little key at the bottom too.
Yeah.
I like that, I just don't want a sign out front with a picture of an attorney
I know,
pointing his
I know.
finger at us.
Lerner and Rowan.
More than one number in the telephone number.
I like working with a client that knows exactly what they want.
Yeah.
It's very nice to have a game plan all put together, and you just have to make it come alive.
Looks great.
That's gonna be nice for that site.
Yep.
Right building for the right lot.
Any other comments, discussion?
We sent a letter out today, actually, so we'll work through it in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Should be okay.
Should be okay in 2 weeks?
Yeah, it's a lot of fat finger stuffing in our part, so.
Keep it up, little.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
What's that?
As Jack stated, they did go in front of the BZA in May to get some variances for the property. They did receive all the variances requested for.
Okay, good. Good. Okay,
All right.
good. See you in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice
Thank
work.
you. Number 4, Novak Business Park, rezone and preliminary plat. Owner petitioner Karen Ann Novak and Philip M. Novak, trustees of Karen Ann Novak revocable trust dated June 4, 2004, 4 Cherry Hill Drive, Pekin, Illinois, vicinity of 13020 Wicker Avenue, Cedar Lake. Petitioner is requesting a rezone and preliminary plat for an 18-lot commercial business subdivision.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the site that we discussed last time, proposed somewhere between maybe 18 to 20 commercial lots. One of the concerns that was discussed at that point was the need to conduct a traffic study and then understanding what the ramifications are going to be post that traffic study. We've conducted some preliminary numbers with that traffic study. It has indicated that depending upon how far along we get into this development, it will require an intersection around that location. Once we recognized that, we held a great meeting with town officials, myself, Jack, Chris, Ashley, and Don were all present. We met, I believe it was last week. And while we don't have exact consensus yet as to what a partnership is going to look like, there's definitely agreement there that we need to come to a partnership and we need to get some more numbers on the table. So on the engineering side, we're working to get some ranges as to what the costs are going to be for some public improvements in that area, as well as on the adjacent intersecting roadway. We're getting some proposed plans together. We're reaching out to some state officials to talk about what partnership opportunities are going to look like there, to start getting the state involved and perhaps some setting aside of funds, because it's going to be a major improvement to that particular area. So we've committed to continuing dialogue with town officials. We're hoping to have a conversation with INDOT in the next 2 weeks, and we're committed to meeting again with the town here by the end of January. And, Chris, I thought I dictated last week, but I've got an overview of our whole conversation that you'll probably get tomorrow. I didn't have a chance to proofread it before I went on vacation a couple days last week to Wisconsin.
Try to avoid fat fingers.
That's why I have the ladies type it up.
that problem.
So, all in all, that's where that stands right now. The only other item that I wanted to address this evening, just to get some feedback from the Plan Commission, is there was some conversation that we had with town officials about the possibility of a big box store potentially coming in to this site. And some of the concerns that town officials raised, and I think my client would agree with them, is if a big box store were to come in and express interest in a portion of this site, what would be the reaction of the Plan Commission in the sense of where it would need to be located, outward aesthetics, things of that nature. So we're nowhere near having a particular big box come in, but I know that may be on the horizon for my clients. So I prefer to start addressing some demands that the town would have now versus a couple of months from now when that arises.
How many acres, Nathan?
I would say we wouldn't want a big box just to build a pole barn looking building. We would want a nice facade. It doesn't need to be all brick from ground to roof. I'm not sure. Quite honestly, in my brain, I can't picture what most big boxes look like. I think a lot of them today are prefabricated concrete walls that get stood up with form.
Pre-cat, they call it.
Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's what most are, I don't know, but something other than just bland, quickie, throw it up and put a sign on top, you know? That would be my gut reaction to that. I would think that property is probably too small to do big box and outlots, but maybe they can squeeze one in or two in. I do know that a lot of those types of organizations bring the team along, so on and so forth, but that would be my 2 cents.
And that's one of the things that we're finding with the high traffic count is that's exactly what they're looking for, and that's what we believe it's going to attract. So, but before we start...
They would probably need to go west and get more land, if there's land to be gotten.
But I think big box, so there's so many different types.
Right.
Yeah. It's hard to, I mean, if it's Kohl's, that's one thing. If it's, like a Home Depot or a Menards or something like that, well, that's a different.
Right.
You know.
We were driving up 41 yesterday, Greg, down south of Sullivan, or maybe in Sullivan, my wife said, that's the smallest Walmart I've ever seen in my life. So apparently, once upon a time, big name box built small, fit communities. I don't know what stores are contemplating, maybe there's none on the horizon, but I have to say I saw the smallest Walmart also.
I think couple of things we were preliminarily talking about was definitely aesthetics that came to mind in the facade. Another item that came to mind was how far back from 41 would we want even at the edge of that building to be.
Right.
And then a third item would be to build into the PUD a structure and process that if one does come along, it would definitely have to come back before this board, and we all recognize that the aesthetics and the outward appearance is of utmost importance for that particular location.
Yeah, gateway into the community and that sort of thing's probably gonna continue to happen south on 41 into the next couple of decades, right? So set precedent now and follow through with it.
I would agree.
Dave, do you have thoughts?
Yeah, there's a lot of detail to a big box, as John just mentioned. We talked about this last night with council a little bit. Devil's in the details, and values are affected. You know, you're on the right course, but it is an arm's length negotiation, right? For sure.
Is there signage on this property? Or will there be signage?
Yes, there will be signage on this property.
Like a monument sign out front somewhere, or?
One of the items that my client is considering is a monument sign on the corner of Wicker and the
29.
Yeah,
remember he had said he wouldn't mind still letting us put Welcome to Cedar Lake on it, and
Okay, yeah.
and we said, well, unfortunately, our town's now, fortunately, it's
further north.
a mile north.
Yeah.
So we'll continue that dialogue. Like I said, I anticipate hopefully coming out of our meetings with INDOT and others in January, coming into February, we'll have a PUD for exact discussion, hopefully by that point.
Chris, was the last NDOT plan for US 41 for 2024 or 5? Did it not have a signal?
I don't believe it did.
Okay.
And our former chief of police, Dave Coulson, sent NDOT a traffic study on accidents and that when we were trying to get a
Right.
light there. And NDOT at that time said it doesn't justify a light, but I think with all this activity and the subdivision on the east side of the road should have more demographics to justify a street light.
That's accurate, Mr. Carnahan. One of the things that we talked about as well with public officials here is the fact that we serve as a corridor to a lot of the southern portion of Lake County that passes through to Lake County. So why is it that our citizens should bear the brunt of, an intersection that's really required in most part because of a lot of the traffic that comes from the south? So those are good dialogue that we're gonna have here with Don and Chris and others moving forward. All right.
Anything else?
I do now, sir.
Thank you all.
Okay, thank
See you in a
you.
couple weeks.
Number 5, L&L Capital Assets LLC Concept Plan. Owner petitioner L&L Capital Assets LLC, 11125 Delaware Parkway, Crown Point, vicinity of 13310 West 133rd Drive, Cedar Lake. Petitioner is requesting a concept plan for a rezone from R1 to RM. Do we have a petitioner here?
I don't see them. If the planning commission remembers, they were invited back this month, with photographs to be provided to you from myself. The last item in your packet is those photographs from me. Well, one of my building inspectors went out and took it for me. But I don't see them back tonight, and they were told when the next meeting was.
They're not online either.
I did go and take a look at this area, and while I was over there, I took a look at Dick's house, the house that Dick built. Dick Inn. Have you seen Dick's house? The White House, across from the firehouse? Yeah.
Hard to match.
If we were building something like that up on top of that hill where you could see it from the street and from the lake and from so many different points in town, I think I could get my arms around that pretty good. But to have an apartment building on that elevation, in that area,
Next to the railroad.
next to the railroad tracks, makes absolutely, aesthetically, makes no sense.
Great.
So, I get the idea and the way that they presented it when they were here, it sounded really good from an income standpoint. But I'm not here to make people richer, I'm here to make the community better. So,
Yeah, and I don't know if that's what we need there, Craig, I agree. Well, I don't think it fits in that area with the trailer court right there, and I did ride through there. And it's, if he's looking for a high-end rental, he's not gonna get that clientele in that neighborhood, per se. And he said there was a good outlook over to the lake. Well, I don't think there really is, unless you build it pretty high, you know?
Well, this historically doesn't fit what our plan is as a commission of reducing RM, correct? Like,
Correct.
we're getting away from that.
we should be.
We have been,
Yeah,
I feel.
yeah.
So to go from R1 to RM is tough for me to wrap my hands around, period. But I'm with you on the aesthetics and the,
Yeah, I mean, Dick built a beautiful home down there and got rid of an eyesore. Well, the eyesore was eliminated. And doing an apartment building, I mean, that's what he's gonna see out one side of his house.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be doing, not that I'm here to represent him, but you spend that kind of money on a property, you don't wanna look out and see an apartment building, you wanna see something aesthetically pleasing. And that's what everybody wants to see on the corridor coming through the town.
right.
You know, what he built there makes the town look, affluent.
Yeah.
I think that's a good word.
That's a really good word.
Yeah.
I like that word.
But, You know, when you drive by that and then drive by another apartment building, that's not,
Yeah.
you're not getting the same message in my view. That's my 2 cents. They started building a single-family house there, and they need to finish building that single-family house. And a nice one.
I kinda agree with Greg there.
Yeah.
With you.
Well,
Yeah, that's a zone change, so.
you didn't get any response from them, Ashley?
Last communications I had with them were shortly after the last plan commission meeting. They were told when the date was, haven't anything to me that they wanted included in the packet by last Friday at noon.
Nothing.
So they were aware of the date and they were aware of the deadline to get anything to me for the packet.
Well, I don't wanna see them, I don't wanna see them at, the public meeting, because there's lots to discuss, and then
It was,
doesn't
this
need to
was
be
all,
discussed at the public.
Or at the public meeting, and
Yeah, at least, nothing, yeah, nothing.
this was a concept plan anyways, it wouldn't be on your public meeting agenda.
Okay. Well, they need to come to the next, work session, or take them off the agenda.
If it's the pleasure of the commission, I can just take them off the agenda until they reach out. There you go.
well, we did it in 2, it's rezone and preliminary plat.
No, it's,
Theoretically, they should be separate,
it's
right?
already platted.
Oh, it is? But it's platted R1, right?
It's platted as R1, so the Yonke subdivision plat went through the process before I started with the town. They got variances for setbacks for the rear and side yard, because it's a corner lot, and they got the, I think, final plat in May of '21. So it got everything prior to my starting with the town, so it's already a platted subdivision. They're just wanting to rezone it to RM.
I have another question about that site though that isn't direct, I mean, just out of curiosity, I'd like to ask a question, is that all right? The builder that started building this and paid for the concrete work over there, they're defunct, is that what happened there, or?
From my understanding, the company that he was going to work with, contract with to build the house that he wanted, which was gonna be a log cabin style house, went under with the recession or COVID and everything, so, I don't know if he just decided that he didn't wanna do it anymore. He started the process, got the foundation, got a couple inspections done, and then nothing else came in.
Well, I don't know what the procedure or the policies are right now with the town, but, is the permit still good on that?
No, it's expired.
So now we've got a structure with no plans of being completed. How long does that go on? I mean, is there a policy to deal with that? If they, I mean, is it gonna sit there for years like that, or?
Yeah, it's not like it's unsafe, you can't do anything about it, you can't take it down, I guess you could,
What do you do in a case like that, I wonder?
Yeah, so it's up here.
probably.
It'll end up unsafe, because it'll be there for a while with nobody doing anything to it. So it'll just naturally begin a deterioration.
Well, I guess my argument is for whoever owns the project now, should probably get to building that single-family house that they started building, or it needs to stay on the radar, you know?
Didn't he say at the last meeting, he kinda inherited all the work was put in, including the concrete costs?
He poured the concrete.
So he was trying to figure out a way, it sounds like, to
Lambert
come up
Concrete
with
that
the-
poured,
yeah.
and he never paid Lambert Concrete, that's what I understand.
Yeah, it sounded like what he told us the last time he was here is, this was a way for him to try to recoup some of his money he lost. That's what it made it sound like to me.
Well, I mean,
That's
I
what he
mean,
made
this
it
is the
sound.
project is a recoup.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, obviously, we're going in, just something to think about, we're going into some challenging times with the market, and we can't just build something less than desirable because whatever, the first project failed. You know, I just don't see that being as a
And really, we need more R1 in town,
good
not
practice.
less. So to take an R1 lot and change it from R1 to R2, yeah, maybe, R1 to RM, it's a different story, right? So, I mean, we don't have that much R1 left in our community. Lots of it is, that was ag or R1, you know, i.e. South Shore. We don't know what'll ever happen with the south side of the golf course there, but I'm thinking most of that is R1, so there's some different things that are out there
I'll tell you
that have to have zone change. When you do a zone change, it's forever.
I'll tell you what won't happen to the south side of the golf course anymore. There won't be any more eagle nests over there.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
None.
Yeah, they need trees.
At least those old growth trees on number 9 green are still there, Greg.
All those trees.
There's still a couple baby trees.
There's trees?
There's some small baby trees if you look when you drive by it.
You gotta look
They're
hard.
too small,
Guys,
too small,
come on.
too small for an eagle to go over that.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it club trees.
Well, you know, since, we haven't had any communications from this,
I can see the lake now.
this LL, I think we should just take it off the agenda until they're ready to come back and do something. I have no problem with that.
I agree.
I think you're right. I said the last part of what I said, just for the building department to keep it in mind that that shouldn't stay there like that forever.
Trust me, when I got the pictures, I'm like, that looks awful, personally. The foundation is already starting to look overgrown.
You have to assume that guy was paying with cash, so that's not a super common thing either. You know, if the bank was involved in this, the bank would be paying the contractors. Not many people roll in with a couple $100,000 to build a house with no checks and balances. I guess my point is, probably won't happen anytime soon, again. Likelihood is small, but it does look horrible, for sure.
That presentation gave every appearance of being a flyer, seeing what could fly with you. You can still build our R1 home. You're gonna face a lot of challenges with R1. Our density coming up in the next 3 or 4 months. We've got the beginning of that tonight for this year, so we're talking about one lot here versus all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Changing our rules for it.
There's a buyer for that project somewhere.
Yeah.
It'll stay on my radar though.
Okay, we'll take it off the agenda.
That's fine.
We'll move to, update items. Building regs, working on.
Actively, we talked again today at length, and we're drafting.
Good. 133rd Commercial Corridor.
Same thing, we met and talked today, active drafting.
It's a long lunch, huh?
I'm sorry?
It's a long lunch.
No, we don't, 8 miles away,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
No, there's a lot going on with these items and draft.
Sure, okay.
We're talking about.
Good. Summer Wind, Unit 1, performance letter of credit expires February 15, 2023.
I have actually reached out to Tim Dinga, and he's reached out to his banker. They are working on getting the extension of the performance letter of credit.
Okay. Cedarview, performance letter of credit expires February 15, 2023.
Similarly, I saw him at the end of December when he was picking up some building permits. I advised him the performance letter of credit was expiring, and he advised me that he was gonna get it extended. So I'm just waiting on extensions to come in right now on both of them.
Okay. Sounds good.
We have time if we need to set a full date next meeting anyway.
I will reach back out to them again tomorrow.
Okay, public comment.
I have something before you adjourn, sir.
Okay,
My
go
turn.
ahead.
Along with what Greg was saying, you know, the market is for sure changing. And all these developers that roll through here and are building these huge subdivisions, the houses are sitting now, you know, they haven't been sitting for the past year and a half. So I do think it's important that we change our mindset a little bit about making sure those PUDs are super tight, which I know Mr. Ashton does. But my concern is that we are gonna end up back, not the plunk that we had before, but we have to start, I think, being even more cautious with these developers that come in.
Well, we were here through the last one, Heather, and there were new construction starts that got demoed, a lot of them. And, we could see that again, I don't know, I hope it wouldn't be for that length of time, but,
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be that bad, but I also think we grew so fast. We have so many homes in the hopper right now, and I just don't know what's gonna happen with all that land.
yeah, the good thing is people are still gonna be leaving Illinois if they can, as fast as they can.
Yeah,
But, that's one positive, but,
it just slowed down exponentially.
Get a 70% tax cut coming across the state line.
And
yeah,
with $400,000 in a starter home, that's jarring.
yeah. That's tough. That's tough stuff.
Yeah, for a two-bedroom house,
Yeah. You
it's
get
crazy.
young folks starting out, and they don't have a shot.
And Schillings came in here and said that they sold a house in Lakeside for $600,000.
Yeah, those were at 320 initially, 300 for the same house. Can you imagine?
Well, my neighbor's looking at a house in Birchwood Farms for $500,000.
In Birchwood Farm?
And,
Wow.
yeah, that's what I said to him.
I want the property values to be stable and good and that sort of thing. I mean, everybody knows that that's interest rate driven though.
Some of it, as we've seen with Harvest Creek and their presentation, is also requiring, or them asking for the ability to build slightly smaller houses than our code allows, as well as allowing for slightly smaller lots than our code allows.
Yeah,
In order
I
to
think
provide
the
that market.
smaller new house is okay, you know.
Multifamily, no.
We need to get under the $400,000 thing, and that's,
There needs to be some of it anyway, in my view. I mean, I'm not a professional planner, I spent a lot of time here, but, you know, if you've got 80% of your houses are above the average price point for people that can move into them, you probably got a lot of problems. I don't know if we're gonna see that or not, but it's certainly something to think about.
well, they're already sitting. I mean, if you look on the MLS, you'll see they're just getting stagnant. A lot of those new houses, Birchwood and Beacon Point and.
Well, the new houses, the lumber prices were high too, so that's challenging.
The lumber prices have come
The
down.
lumber now is down, but those houses were built at a high lumber cost, and now interest rates are up, so it's a challenging time, without a doubt.
To address your point to affordable homes, there's a webinar that the Indiana Planning Association has put out that I plan on going and viewing that is about affordable housing in a recession. So
But
I
we
hope
do-
to get some information from that to bring to you guys to help you all in your job as planning commissioners.
But we do, as a town, have a lot of duplexes that theoretically should be affordable.
Yeah, they're just not.
Yeah, it's quite amazing, isn't it?
It really
What the
is.
market has done? It's
Really
quite
is.
amazing.
Interest rate, supply and demand, there's a whole lot of parameters to it. I mean, sounds like there's supply now and not much demand, or not as much demand. But if you can't get somebody signed on a mortgage to buy those houses, you're probably not gonna sell them.
Well, yeah, they're sitting there, and obviously no one's paying the HOA, or the fair portion of the HOA. You have a handful of homes that are paying in, you know. Financially, it's gonna start not working at some point. Which I
So
hope
they
does
have a
not come,
for sale
but.
sign on that?
Yeah.
Way to be a downer at the end of the meeting, Heather, geez.
I know, I mean, it's just being realistic.
Yeah,
I wanna be an optimist about things, but I know what happened in the last market, a lot of the corporations started picking up
yeah,
distressed property, and what they turn them into, they turn them into rental properties.
right.
And a lot of people who had money and were able, made a lot of money. And that's who takes advantage in an environment like that, sadly.
Yeah, in 2011, we only issued 30 building permits.
You know, I remember how much got demoed at the time. There were a lot of new starts that got demoed.
There's a bunch of negotiation needed on these PUD projects that are before you that may well be a gatekeeper to some of the types and natures of development that will occur. I asked, for example, tonight, I asked Nathan Biss to be prepared to talk about the pro forma costs that are involved with extension of utilities or in construction of utilities and the like, given our municipal responsibilities under the new law, or newer law, to providing service and partnering in cost sharing. That's just one avenue, it's one place. Tonight you talked at length about, I think it was Harvest Creek, perhaps, the 5 acres versus 2 acres, or whatever the difference was in what our code requires for dedication and what they're proposing, in return for which there are other considerations, size, density, et cetera. So this is not your grandma's PUD world. It's sophisticated, but the controls can be found within some of that. And we're gonna be talking about that. It'll be from the engineering side. Don's gonna be verifying values and costs and our participatory roles. Chris and his team are gonna be doing the same thing. And we need to negotiate correctly also, for the benefit, mutual benefit, not developer benefit solely. There's gonna be a lot of money involved in this. It'll be in the millions, to the stuff you saw tonight. So, these are interesting times, they're great times, to be honest, but they're interesting times too.
These times create opportunity.
Exactly. And we have no shrinking violet standing in front of you for making their development proposals. These are veteran and experienced developers, so that'll make it easier for sure. They'll know what their risk is, or they'll find it out during the process. And we have to report to you, and we have to report to the town council, utility board, exactly the same things, so that those decisions can be made based upon objective and correct information, complete information, actually. So. Just another year and see the light.
You know what?
Days in.
Happy New Year all.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
John, you have a couple more things on there? Did you get through them all?
That's it.
No,
He's done.
the word of public comment now, so if there's no other public comment?
Anybody online, Tom?
Nope.
I always forget that.
Good. That's fine, that's fine. We don't want.
Seeing there is none, we're adjourned.